this is Joe. This holiday I would like to present one of my favorite finger food that my family and my friends really enjoy. Here are our ingredients. We have approximately 2 pounds of ground beef. We have green onions, onion, garlic, carrots, cabbage, salt and pepper, sesame oil, and soy sauce. The first thing I do before I start chopping all of my ingredients is brown my ground beef. I will add a cup of water in this, more or less, and then cover it and allow it to simmer on a medium-low heat until the meat is nice and tender. The first time I presented this recipe is in my gardening channel. My gardening channel's name is Cultivating Organic by Joe and Meg. And I did some cooking there, which those recipes I will eventually be able to transfer here or redo them here in my cooking channel. And this is one of them. And one of the comments recently was a question asking, although he really liked the recipe, so it seems, is that why do I put a lot of carrots on my egg rolls? This recipe, as I said, is not a cut and dried type of recipe. It's not like baking a cake where there's science to it. Everything must be precise as far as measurement or it will not turn out right. But this recipe is so forgiving. You can put a lot of meat, you could put no meat. Actually, it can be vegetarian, and you could put a lot of cabbage or whatever part of this recipe that you like most. My inspiration when I cook are my children. So I have been making this recipe for over 40 years now, and I never fail to please everyone who eats this. And because my desire for my children is to eat more vegetable, and one way I do that is by the way I cook. You will notice that most of my recipes will have some vegetable with it. And egg roll is something that can be either vegetarian or you could put as much meat as you'd like. So carrots is just one of those things that I would like my children to eat more of at that time as they are growing up, and good food, good healthy food is a must in my book. So another comment which I will never forget is regarding the core of the cabbage, which obviously, and I agree with that person very much, contains a good amount of nutritional value. But again, like I said, even though I do not add the core, I will eventually take this part out, eliminate that from the cabbage. There will still be so much nutrition left on the rest of the other part of this cabbage. And again, my inspiration are my children. When I first started cooking as a young mother, it's important to me that they eat a lot of vegetable, fruits and vegetable. And the core, although rich in nutritional value, is a bit bitter, and for children, especially cabbage, they might find that flavor a little strong for their taste buds. This is how we chop the cabbage for egg roll. Make it as thin as you can possibly. We're going to saute our garlic. And onions. Okay. So at this point, I'm going to add my pre-cooked ground beef. See, because I pre-cooked the ground beef, it's nice and tender, and all I have to do once I saute all of the aromatics is incorporate all the rest of the other ingredients. This time I'm going to season it with fresh cracked black pepper. Remember that the seasonings really depend upon your taste, okay? Soy sauce is kind of salty, as you know, and you can add as much or as little as you want. Now, another way you could adjust your seasoning is by adding some salt. Now, another question I have on my gardening channel where I presented this recipe was that when do I start adding the sesame oil? Now, you can use sesame oil or add it on to your recipe anytime during cooking, but I find that when you add the sesame oil right before you're completely done, you kind of preserve that flavor and aroma of roasted sesame seeds, and that's the reason why I'd like to add this towards the end of the cooking. Okay, here's another tip. One thing you want to do is to make sure that your meat is seasoned well. The flavor of this dish really depends upon how well you season your meat. And you go ahead as you add the vegetable and adjust your seasoning. But be sure that your meat or your ground beef is seasoned well. At this point, I'm content with the seasonings I put in here. So I'll go ahead and start adding my vegetables. I'll start with the carrots. I'm going to put my heat on medium-low. I don't want it to kind of dry too much. The salt or the seasoning will extract some of the moisture from the vegetables. So be careful at this point that you do not add any water because you're afraid that it might burn. Just lower your heat, put the lid on. Let's go ahead and mix this. I'll go ahead and add the cabbage. Again, I'll put my heat on a medium-low so that I don't burn the bottom of it while it's steaming. I'll go ahead and add a little bit of salt because remember, although the ground beef is seasoned well, it's perfectly seasoned, once you add your vegetable, you start diluting your seasoning. So I add or adjust my seasoning to season the vegetables. Put a lid on and let it steam. Another thing I like to add right towards the end of my cooking or sauteing all these ingredients is the green onions. Now I'm going to add my sesame oil. Okay, I'll put about a teaspoon in there. Mix it, and your egg roll filling is done. Okay, so now that we got all of our ingredients incorporated, you will notice that there will be some liquid that the vegetable released during the cooking process. So you have to strain that. I'm squeezing it down to make sure there's no excess liquid in there. Then transfer it to another container.